So in my previous video, I gently suggested that international maritime law, or UNCLOS, UNCLOS, the law of the sea, exists, and I gave personal and hypothetical examples of how it might apply to sailors navigating between countries. Beyond that, I also pointed out that the real-world disregard for these laws reflects a broader erosion of international law itself. Like, apparently I have to say this, or it needs to be said, but if everyone just stops understanding or caring about international humanitarian law, there will be no more protections left for any of us. And sooner or later, every one of us will feel the consequences in our own lives.
Total chaos, more laws are more pain, but a minimum of law at sea is appreciated. Like, nice to be protected and not being boarded by whomever and wherever.
It's more than it's nice for there to be laws. It's humanitarian international law was created to protect human life, as I will go into more later in this video. So I think that this breakdown of law just doesn't endanger sailors like us, it also degrades the quality of life for ordinary working people everywhere. I could make an entire video about how the enshittification of products worldwide, something that I believe has happened because there are no consequences or rules limiting how shoddy or short-lived or outright dangerous products can be, especially when they're needed for survival at sea or on land. But that's another issue that I don't want to get into today and will be for another video. Our dream. Years ago, at least one person in our comments remembered recently, Robbie and I dreamed of transforming Inez's enormous pilot house into a large kitchen or galley to feed people in need. While we've managed the basic repairs of our vessel to stay afloat, operating on an extremely limited budget, we haven't yet realized that vision. Lately, we've been thinking a lot about those who go hungry, near and far, and how far we are still from being able to help out in a meaningful way. That's why I'm making this video, to make the connection between maritime law, international humanitarian law, and the fight against hunger. For example, if we were ready to sail to Cuba, before we go this time, we'd contact doctors or other organizations to ask what medical supplies are most needed there. And then we would be allowed to travel to Cuba to deliver what we can, as we found out last time when we ended up in Cuba. If we were prepared to visit Haiti, for another example, we'd coordinate with humanitarian groups to determine the safest landing point and the most critical supplies to bring to that very unstable region. But there's one place that weighs heavily on both of our minds. A place where innocent civilians, an overwhelming number of them children and young people, are being deliberately starved while their homes and their livelihoods are bombed endlessly into rubble. And to top it all off, it's being done with our tax dollars. Every day, these human beings scavenge for food in a literal deadly race against time, running for a finish line before a green light turns red, after which point stragglers are shot at with live ammunition. I'm describing how aid has been distributed in Gaza recently.
It's like a live action version of Squid Games.
It's like Squid Games, yes.
Since when is trying to help a particular group of people, no matter who they are, when has helping people become a crime? There seems to be more consequences for trying to help people than there are to dropping bombs and starving people. I mean, since when has that? When has this shit become the norm?
I get more hate for saying I think people should be allowed to live than I've ever gotten in my life for any mean thing I've ever said in my life. If I've said an asshole thing in my life, I have not gotten as much hate for it as I get for saying children should not be starved. Innocent people should not be bombed. I get the most inhumane responses I've ever seen in my life, online specifically, but sometimes in real life too. I hear people say pretty disturbing things when it comes to me saying children should not be killed. When we think of this crisis on a daily basis, we also reflect a lot on the recent aid missions by sea and how they've been met with blatant violations of maritime law. Take the vessel Handala, which recently attempted to deliver baby formula and medical supplies to Gaza. Approaching the same coordinates that the previous boat that I mentioned last video, the Madeleine, had been attacked at night, surrounded by drones and paint sprayed on the deck. The Handala's crew expected a similar assault. Sure enough, approximately 64 nautical miles from their destination, they were surrounded by unidentified lights, vessels, smoke, and drones. When Palestinian-American human rights attorney Huwaida Araf demanded answers over the VHF radio, I was inspired to research what she said, and I discovered that she was 100% correct in her defense of international humanitarian law. I'm going to play the video of her making that VHF call.
Future course, the IDF will be forced to take all necessary measures to legal blockade in accordance with international law and prevent your vessel from entering the restricted area. You will be held responsible for the consequences of your actions, and your vessel may be subject to confiscation. You bear sole responsibility for your actions and your consequences.
Israeli Navy, this is a civilian vessel, Handala. Let me give you a lesson in international law. Any blockade that deliberately starves a civilian population is a violation of international law. It is not only that, it is a war crime. You have no legal authority to enforce an unlawful blockade, and as such, you have no authority to use force to enforce an unlawful blockade. We demand that you stand down. You are responsible for the well-being of every civilian on board this vessel. As an occupying power in Gaza, you are responsible for the health and well-being of the civilian population there. Not only have you disregarded that obligation, but you are actively exterminating the people. You have engineered a famine. You are deliberately starving civilians and children before the eyes of the world. Our vessel does not constitute any threat to you. We carry only humanitarian aid. You have no authority to intercept or otherwise attack our vessel. We demand again that you stand down.
As I explained last time, UNCLOS, or UNCLOS, or the Law of the Sea, describes that all vessels have freedom of navigation in international waters. They have innocent passage through sovereign waters, such as Egypt's waters. They have the right to no arbitrary inspections unless there is a credible suspicion of contraband on board, and if no contraband is found, the vessel must be allowed to proceed. Where this happens, 64 nautical miles from the shores of Gaza, is like in the EEZ, the economic zone of Egypt. It could be in the contiguous zone. They could have been about 24 nautical miles off the coast of Egypt. Either they were in Egyptian sovereign waters or they were in the economic zone of Egypt, which it doesn't matter which of those options it was. Israel doesn't have the right to enter into another sovereign nation's waters and do what they did. And if they are in international waters, they really aren't allowed to have done what they did. If they're in Egypt's waters, they would have to abide by Egypt's laws, or Egypt would have to give specific permission to do the things that I will mention in the video in a moment. In other words, Israel had no legal right to seize humanitarian aid, confiscate the ship, and/or forcibly detain its crew. None of these acts are permitted under international law. Some people would argue against calling it piracy, but personally, both of us would describe it as state-sponsored piracy. That's because piracy is usually described as something of personal gain for a specific vessel, one vessel boarding another and stealing its shit.
Including the vessel.
Including the vessel itself, but in this case, it's just simply state-sponsored. Proponents of Israel often cite the San Remo Manual, which governs naval warfare specifically, to justify their blockades, particularly sections 93 through 108, which discusses blockades. The rules are clear. A blockade is not legal if its sole purpose is to starve civilians or deny them essentials, or if the harm to civilians is excessive compared to the military goals or gains. If civilians lack food or survival supplies, the blockading force must allow aid to go through. There can be search procedures to ensure that weapons are not smuggled in, and there can be supervision by an impartial third party, such as the Red Cross, for example. So in case that's all too wordy for anyone here, you can't blockade civilians into starvation, and you must let aid through. You can search it, but you can't stop it. Here is footage of the moments that Handala was illegally boarded and the crew illegally kidnapped. As usual, the Israeli forces approached at night to heighten the chances of disorientating the aid vessel's crew, or to intimidate and to terrorize the crew aboard. They took a submissive or surrendering stance because of the history of these aid flotillas. The last time a crew stood their ground in 2010, 10 of the humanitarian aid volunteers were shot dead by Israeli soldiers while the soldiers were forcing their way onto the boat. So here we see the forces making their way towards the Handala. There is an official arrest warrant out for Netanyahu for the crime of starvation, to further establish the fact that the blockade is illegal. The leader of Israel is, quote, allegedly responsible for the war crimes of starvation as a method of warfare and of intentionally directing an attack against the civilian population, and the crimes against humanity of murder, persecution, and other inhumane acts. So again, just in case that is not clear enough, this arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court substantiates the claim that there is an explicit attempt to block food from entering Gaza and that there is either a risk or existing starvation. I admit that these laws aren't perfect. No laws are. They're simply the scaffolding for human ethics, aiming to preserve civilian life in conflict. While I believe that they could have been written a bit better, or precisely, or updated regularly by the international bodies, they're the only tools that we have to protect human rights and dignity right now. I've heard proponents of Israel argue that some of the wording within these laws allow them to intercept vessels far outside their waters, and also claim that their blockade is legal because they can generally control naval operations. But these arguments completely and utterly ignore the law's core purpose: protecting innocent lives. It really can't be any clearer. A blockade is illegal if civilians are starving. International law, the UN, and the Geneva Conventions were created after the World Wars devastated and destroyed millions of people's lives. International laws were a global effort to stop atrocities before they escalated, so that we wouldn't need massive wars to punish aggressors. The rules that I quoted were written to prevent exactly what is happening in Gaza now.
These laws were implemented after there was a genocide that killed millions of people, and almost every nation in the world loves to use the term, oh, we'll never forget, never again. And apparently people didn't seem to have gotten the message.
How is it that no aid ship can reach Gaza without being attacked by the same state that's also starving the people? How is it that no leadership of any country has come forward to condemn and to put pressure on this blatantly illegal behavior? Why am I the only ocean and sailing and boat-related YouTube channel that's talking about this blatantly illegal behavior? When these laws are ignored, mocked, or trampled, what is really being said is, might is right, and we want the law of the jungle. To those who think this way, I ask you, do you really want to live in a world without rules? Without medical advancement, safety regulations, or scientific progress? Nature is tough enough. Do you really want to live at the complete and utter mercy of the worst human beings that you know?